Tim, Susan, so happy to see you guys again. Thanks for being here. So as we start off with every session, standard practice, I want to talk to you a little bit about confidentiality. So anything that you share here today is between us. The only reason I would ever share anything outside of this room with anybody else would be if you reported that you were going to harm yourself, if you were going to harm someone else, if you reported a vulnerable child, or if I was ever subpoenaed by the court to share, my notes or what we talked about here. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So last time we met, I think we're making great progress. We talked a lot about, previous events and why you guys are Susan, why you're feeling upset in the marriage, and Tim, kind of your understanding of things as well. But I recall a significant incident, Susan, that you have brought up, and I wanted to revisit that. We didn't have time to talk about it last week. But Susan, you had mentioned an awards banquet that occurred, it sounded like a few months ago, in which you were being honored with an award, which is great. And Tim, it sounded like you had made the decision not to attend that event. So Susan, could you tell me a little bit more about that evening and what happened?
Yeah, so I was being honored with an award for my legally volunteer work, and I was very excited. This was my first time receiving an award since I started working in the legal field after graduation. And I told Tim 2 weeks in advance about it, and he said that he'd be sure to take it off and be there. So of course, the whole night I was looking for him, and I was disappointed when I didn't see him at all. He didn't call or anything, and I was so distracted expecting him to walk in the door that I couldn't even really focus or enjoy myself during the whole thing.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about how Tim not attending the banquet made you feel.
It made me feel unsupported and upset, underappreciated, and honestly embarrassed. A lot of my coworkers or colleagues were expecting to meet him and see him because they hadn't met him. And I was very worried because I hadn't heard from him, and so I rushed home and walked through the door, and he was sitting on the couch watching television. So of course I just got really angry and upset.
Okay, so Tim, can you understand where Susan's feelings are coming from, why she was upset?
I can kind of understand. I don't know. I just didn't think it would be a big deal. She seemed to always understand when I had a rough day in the past and didn't feel like being social. I thought she would understand this too.
I see. Okay. Well, Tim, why don't you tell me about what you recall happening that night?
Well, I was planning to go. I just had a rough day, felt drained, so I decided to relax at home and unwind. I didn't think me going was a big deal.
Okay. So I heard you say rough day twice now. So can you tell me a little bit more about what happened at work that day that made it rough?
Well, I was up for landing a big client, and I found out the client decided to go with a competitor. So that I lost a major account. I was upset and really didn't feel like being social.
You didn't tell me about losing an account that day, especially a big one.
So it sounds like there was possibly a miscommunication between the two of you about your reasoning for not attending Tim. You had simply told Susan you were tired, is what I remember saying last time. Is that correct, Susan? You just said he was tired.
100%. Of course I would have been bummed out, but, I would have felt a little better if I knew why he didn't come.
Okay. So, Tim, it sounds like you didn't let her fully in on what happened that day. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you felt, how you were feeling when you lost that account?
Yeah, honestly, I just felt dumb, like I let my family down.
So, Susan, that would have changed your mind then to hear this explanation?
100%.
Okay. And when you said before that you would have felt better, at least you would have felt better personally if you knew why he didn't come, what did you mean when you say that?
I wouldn't have felt like he didn't come because he didn't care about coming to my event or like he didn't feel like supporting me.
Okay. Tim, does that make sense to you?
It does make sense.
Yeah?
Yeah. I should have been more open about it.
Tim, just a thought. Just listening to this, because I can understand how losing an account, how that could feel and make you feel, a little bummed out and less than, especially regarding success. Do you think the feeling, you had said failure, do you think that made it hard for you to attend the banquet because it was a moment in which you were celebrating another person's success?
Honestly, probably. I don't do well with losing and being around a bunch of happy people. Just didn't sound appealing. I am proud of her, but I still can't. I can just tell her that. I don't need to show up to dinner to tell her that.
And you've told her you're proud of her?
Well, now that I think of it, I don't know if I ever have.
Okay, so hearing that can be kind of an eye-opener, right? When you're saying you are telling her you're proud, but now you're realizing maybe you haven't. Tim, can you understand how this can make Susan feel underappreciated or that you lack support and interest in her professional life?
I understand. I don't know. I just feel like I'm still getting used to her working. It makes me nervous for her to start a full-time job and not be around as much to take care of the house and kids.
Why does that make you nervous?
I don't know. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom, and that's how I remember it.
Well, my mother, she's a single mother, and she worked full-time. My sisters work full-time, and I want to contribute to our family as well, the way I watch my mom and watch my sisters contribute to their families. I idolize my mother for her work ethic, and I want our daughters to look up to me like that as well.
Tim, can you understand where Susan is coming from regarding what she just said?
I can. I know I need to get used to it. You're right. I want our daughters to be hardworking and successful. I can't be a hypocrite and hold you back from being the same. I know it.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, first, I want to commend both of you. This is by far the most open you've been in sessions regarding your feelings thus far. I am really, really proud of you both. Hearing of this incident, it does confirm to me further that continuing our communication skill practices is super important. Moving forward, I think we will begin working on skills and ways that you guys can learn how to show appreciation as well as, say it as well as how to show it. Because it sounds like you guys are both thinking you're proud of the other person, but you're not actually, showing that to that person as well. So I think that it'll be very beneficial for both of you to work on those things. Does that sound like something you would both like to work on?
Yeah, I definitely need to learn how to be better at doing that.
I'm completely open to that.
Okay, that's great. So I want to give you guys some homework. For the next week, I want you guys to practice expressing more of your thoughts out loud to each other. So after dinner, before bedtime, I don't know when's best for you, I want you to set aside some time, about an hour. It might not take that much, but I think it's important to have that space. And I want you to sit down and detail your days to each other, and I mean detail. Even if it was a mundane day, I want you to describe the little things from, what you had for breakfast to who upset you at work to what activities you completed. So, at work or at volunteering, or even if, it's a day where you're staying home, I want you to talk about what happened at home. I think it's important for him to know that. And I want you to and I would like the person listening to practice active listening skills by asking how incidents in the day made you feel. So, if she tells you about one of the kids throwing a tantrum, I want
Ruby
you to
pooped on the floor.
Exactly. So I want you to ask, how did that make you feel? Does that make sense?
I think we need to work on potty training.
There you go. So I know that can feel silly. It sounds like a silly idea. But I do believe this will really help in you both learning how to better understand each other, but more importantly, how to express and talk to each other, right? So it sounds like you guys have a lot of thoughts going through your head, and they sound like good thoughts and positive thoughts, and that would be encouraging to each other, but it doesn't sound like you ever take the time to really say them out loud. And it can be hard to talk about your feelings, so I totally get that, but we're going to practice it. So we're going to help train yourselves to let the other person in instead of assuming they know what's going on inside your head. Does that sound like something you would both be open to?
Absolutely.
Susan?
I would.
Okay, great. Well, and so I know that was a lot. Do either of you have any questions about what I just said?
I do not.
I do, just a little bit, just because if I do have something that I'm upset with him about, and I feel like my feelings aren't taken into consideration as much as I would like, what's a way I guess I can just express to him, I don't feel like you were listening entirely. Because, you come home and he sits on the couch and watches TV.
Of course, and I think that that's something that Tim, now that we're working on, right? So I think when it's important for Susan, she sounds like you've been holding in those thoughts when he is being a certain way, and when he didn't show up to the banquet, he said he was tired, and you just didn't acknowledge anything after that. So I do think it's important to just let him know, like, hi, I feel like I'm not being heard, and kind of make that point. And Tim, when you hear that, I want you to take that seriously. Does that sound okay to you? Like, we can start being more open-minded to that?
Definitely will work harder on it.
Okay. So, well, that is all the time we have for today. I look forward to hearing how these practices went, at the same time next week. We'll see you then. And thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
We weren't at our time crunch. I was trying to, give it a little